A few more questions here. Let's go to random_John. Good morning, Aslan and Corey. Hope you both had a wonderful holiday and that you still have all your fingers present and accounted for. Yep. Thank you, John. What exactly is it about Mike Norvell that makes him a coach who goes from believing in a one-legged Mackenzie Milton being the best option and having little trust in Jordan Travis to turning Jordan Travis into a possible Heisman candidate? Well, he is a Heisman candidate preseason, so he did it. He's not possible. He is a Heisman candidate. What did he not see then that magically showed up a year later? It's not like Travis didn't know how to throw a forward pass. Was Norvell not putting effort into Travis back then versus now?
Look, I think if we could give him truth serum, what's that called? Like sodium pentothal?
Pentothal,
something like that?
Pentothal.
If you gave him truth serum, I think his biggest regret since he's been at Florida State is how he coached the quarterback position, the decisions he made after the Notre Dame game, because it cost him Jacksonville State. It cost him rock bottom, his all-time most embarrassing loss. And he's lucky that Jordan Travis is the type of player he is, because then it could have cost him his career, like legitimately. Like there is a world where Florida State goes 1-11 in 2021. Half the team leaves. Jared Verse doesn't come here. And then they go 4-8 last year, and he's out of a job. Like all that was on the table. And I'm not saying Jordan Travis is solely to blame, but there are a lot of quarterbacks, there are a lot of lesser people that when they get booed on their home field are done for and never rebound and never regroup and never have the Miami game in 2021 and never have the season they have in 2022. It never happens. Jordan Travis is a very strong kid mentally. And Mike Norvell, quite frankly, didn't do him a lot of favors with the way he handled him after the Notre Dame game. And you could tell. And so my point being, if you went back 5 years from now, after Norvell's won 2 national championships, Jordan Travis is winning a Super Bowl, and you could talk to both of them, specifically Norvell, and ask him honestly, I think he would admit that was his biggest mistake and that he let the fans kind of dictate who he put at that position. Because he knew. He could not have known. He could not have known that Mackenzie Milton couldn't do it. Like the problem, the worst thing that happened to that football team and almost derailed his career was those throws Mackenzie Milton made when he came right into the game in the fourth quarter against Notre Dame. Like if he throws an interception on that first pass instead of an incredible throw, then Travis goes back into the game. They lose it. They probably lose anyway. But then the next game, they beat Jacksonville State, I think, by 3 or 4 touchdowns, and they get to a bowl that year. Yeah. But they didn't. Mackenzie Milton had a couple of really nice throws, 2 or 3 to be exact, but they were incredible throws, better than any Jordan Travis made that night. Then they do this crazy. They're hush all week about who's going to be the starter. Mackenzie starts. Jordan Travis plays some at tailback. They give Jordan Travis some reps at quarterback for 1 series. It's a 3-and-out. He gets booed, and then he rides Mackenzie Milton the rest of the way, which was a huge coaching error. And so, again, I just think he's matured, and I think maybe, hopefully, that was the last time I feel like he's a young coach, and you're going to make mistakes. And he's never been on a stage like this. He had never coached in a game that more people watched than that Florida State Notre Dame game. And when he saw Mackenzie Milton make those throws, he's like, well, man, maybe everything I'm seeing in practice is wrong. And when the lights turn on, this guy is awesome. And I'm going to ride with him. And then he did it the next week, and he lost to Jacksonville State. And so I just think he made a miscalculation. I don't think he changed maybe as a person, but I think at that point, I hope he said to himself, after walking off that field, I'm not going to let the fans' choice be my choice. I'm not going to ride what they want. I'm going to let Jordan Travis be the quarterback. He won the job in August. He's better than Mackenzie Milton, and that was dumb for me to have Mackenzie Milton play that whole game. I'm not going to do that again.
Yeah, you listen to the guys in the stands, and that's where you end up being, or whatever.
Hey, that's right. That's the saying. And I just think it was an immature decision based on emotion and based on the narrative. Great story. Game day came down. All that stuff. It was a great story. But he's got to coach a football team. He's not coaching a Disney movie. And, it didn't work out it worked out terribly. So
I've never I don't think he fell prey to that stuff, and that's what we're disagreeing on. I don't feel he fell prey to Holly Rose reporting and just the good vibes. I think he remembers what he saw when he played against that guy.
That's a good point.
And when
he played
saw
against
that,
Mackenzie Milton.
And we also have to remember too, man. Coming into that season, Jordan Travis was not like the paragon of health and vitality. Like he saw Jordan get knocked out of games a lot in 2020, and then in 2021, the helmet comes off, he gets dinged up, and then maybe you're thinking, all right, like I need someone I can rely on and go through a season with, and maybe this guy can finally do it for me. But like to your point, he'd been through enough practices to probably know that he didn't have that capability.
But the beauty, right, though, Aslan, is we saw those practices.
Yes.
So I get it too. Like the guy, I'm telling you, folks, when you watch Mackenzie Milton practice that season, it looked like he was no more impressive than the fourth and fifth quarterbacks on the roster.
It looked like a walk-on.
And then he gets into the game against Notre Dame and looks like Doug Flutie, or looks like himself. Looks like 2018 Mackenzie Milton. Yep. And then all of a sudden you're like, well, good grief. And he did the same thing in the spring game. So I get the point of being, man, maybe he's just a guy that he's a gamer. When the lights come on, it's just different. He's one of these different dudes. And then, man, it's like, okay, the once you get to halftime at Jacksonville State and you have one touchdown, that might be the time you're like, okay, the feel-good story is over. I need a quarterback that can – nothing else, we have to have a running game. This kid ran for over 100 yards against them last year. We put up 45 points on this team last year. I can't keep riding with this kid. I've got to go to Jordan Travis. I don't care if the fans boo him. But, again, yeah, you're right, though. He had also seen the Mackenzie Milton. He had lost to him. He lost to him in a championship game like 62-55.
Yeah.
So he had seen Mackenzie Milton at the top, at the very pinnacle of the sport, multiple times. And then he saw that fourth quarter, and he's like, well, geez, I guess he's back.
Right.
And it didn't work out that way. But, again, I think more than anything, the story of that is, man, what a mindset for Jordan Travis to have. And there are always times when Travis is still talking today where you can tell that still fuels him getting booed.
Yeah.
Like he still brings it up occasionally in a snide comment here or there. Not that he's making fun of the fans, but he'll bring up occasionally, not every time, like, yeah, man, I know what it's like for people not to believe in me. Or I've been booed in my home stadium. Like that's always going to be in there with him. And instead of knocking his legs out from under him, it somehow lifted him to become one of the best quarterbacks in the country. It's just a really cool story.